what is exactly how to do and all the initial phases of this all I was talking about this case study method. I have completed this. Means how all these slides are over, and we'll go to now the genesis of case study methods. I think I stopped here, na? Genesis of case study method. Okay, so you see, if you look into this, how this case study method is being evolved, and what was the importance of this case study method, and who are the persons first started using this case study method, that we are going to discuss. If you look at this genesis, you will see that the Frederick Play, he introduced the case study method into social sciences. Who introduced? Frederick Play. So he introduced this case study method in the field of social science. He used it as an alternative to statistical method in his studies of family budgets. While he was making a study on family budgets, so how a family prepares his budget, how he spends, what are the areas which influence his consumer behavior. While he was looking into all these aspects, he thought that okay, instead of using certain kind of statistical methods, let us make a very quantitative description about the budget of a family, because whenever we tell budget usually comes under the statistical domains. But so you see, then Herbert Spencer also, the British sociologist, was the earliest to use the case materials in the ethnographic studies. So Herbert Spencer also started using in ethnographic studies also, he used this case study method as a term of case materials. When collecting the different kind of information, different cases for the ethnographic studies. William Hill, a psychiatrist, was among the first to adopt the case study method in his work with juvenile delinquents. You see, William Hill also, he's a psychiatrist who used this method for studying the juvenile delinquents. So that means you see, so these are the very prominent people who have used this case study method. Then after an intensive statistical study of 1000 delinquents, so what he did, he was convinced that the statistic will never tell the whole story. So what he was telling this, the William Hill, a psychiatrist, while he was doing the statistical methods he was using for studying on the juvenile delinquent, and after taking around 1000 delinquents, he felt that the use of the statistical methods will not resolve the entire issue and will never tell the whole story of why things are happening. So that's why he thought that okay, some alternative method is essential to grasp the entire story, and he was about this then as they in themselves are but symptoms unknown causal process and severely only those provisional grounds for sociological hypothesis. What is trying? He was trying to explore certain kind of aspects through using different kind of sociological hypothesis and trying to adopt another methods which will describe the things in a different way from a holistic perspective. Anthropologists and ethnologists use it for detailed description of primitive and modern culture. So different kind of this anthropologists and ethnologists, they use this method for detailed description of the primitive and modern culture. Then Cura Du Bois, the people of Elora, Redfield, Topodron, a Mexican village, Oscar Luis, life in the Mexican village, Tepoztlan, revisited, all this telling, all these people, Cura Du Bois, Robert Redfield, Oscar Luis, all these people use this case study method for doing an extensive research on different villages throughout the globe. So they mostly tried by using this method, collecting the holistic information of a society or of a village. So case data are continued to be widely used by the clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, industrial psychologists, legal personnel, and anthropologists. See, generally the psychologist, anthropologist, uh, sociologists mostly use this case study method even in the management also when they do some business research and all. So what they do, they used to take lots of case studies also. So yesterday also I went to a field uh, for my own project work, and there uh, I was guiding some of my PhD students are with me. I was guiding them that how to collect certain kind of case studies because we are interacting with some of the farmers. Then we found that some of the farmers have done better works in their locality. Then I was just telling that how to collect the information which will help us developing a case study which will reflect that. So there will be a successful case study which will reflect, okay, these are the farmers and they use certain kind of mechanisms. They can be, by highlighting those cases, will help others to become motivated. Because you see, there is a general tendency within us that we usually uh, take the people into our as our reference group, those who usually stay with us. Mostly, see, if I see that there is another farmer who is just residing nearby my house and doing a very and he's being prosper in his farming activities and doing very well, then it will motivate me that okay, I also should be part of this farming activities and I can consult with him, and through that I can get certain kind of knowledge to empower myself. Then they used extensively personal documents like diaries, letters, autobiographies, and at times combined data analysis from the files of sociological analysis. Then, means what I am telling here, you see, uh, in case study method also, generally people used to search for some of the personal documents. They ask them, sir, can I go through your personal, because if somebody is writing in a case study on a particular individual, then they use their personal autographs if you have, autobiographies, then letters if they have. If somebody has written some kind of habit of writing some diaries, through that what will happen, we can get some more extensive information the moment we go through all these documents. And by reading all these documents, we'll get a very extensive knowledge about that unit or that an individual or that group, which will help us in our analysis, in our interpretation of the data, and understanding the real picture of a person, understanding the real picture of a case, whatever. See, they thereby obtained concrete and specific detail about personal conduct and group behavior within the cultural situation. Whatever, they thereby obtained a concrete and specific details about the personal conduct, group behavior within the cultural situation. So see, if I obtain a very concrete information and a specific details about an individual, then what will happen? Then for understanding his cases as a whole, I can understand that what will be his attitude and behavior with a particular specific cultural domain. How will it react? How will it behave? Thus, they are able to present a continuous picture through time about the person's own interpretation of the experience and his relation with the others. Through that, what happened? If I take over all these aspects into account and starts reading him properly, then I'll get a continuous picture uh, of an individual's person's experience and also his relation with other entities and other individuals in the society. However, one of the major debates involving the case studies and case histories is about its representativeness, and typicalness. You see, whenever we are interpreting cases, I can really understand that whom it is representing and what is his beautification, what is his typicalness, which really gave a priority and helps in the society. Then what exactly the case study method? Because we are keep on discussing and all the genesis of case study method, then we are discussing about the relevance of case study method and all. But it is highly essential to know that what exactly, because we discussed about case study and all, but we have to now know what exactly the defined definition of this terminology case study method. Case study method, it is an empirical inquiry. What it is? It is an empirical inquiry. What is empirical? Means we are going to the field and we are inquiring in the field. That investigate, what is doing? Case study is doing. It is an empirical inquiry which is investigating a contemporary phenomenon. A contemporary phenomenon means contemporary is what is happening within its real life context. What is it doing? It is investigating. It is doing an inquiry which investigates the contemporary phenomenon within its real life context. When the boundaries between phenomenon and the context are not clearly evident and in which multiple sources of evidence are used. You see, look at the very clear definition of the case study method. So first is what he was telling. He was telling that it is an empirical inquiry first. What it is doing? That. Then second is that is investigates. What it is investigating? A contemporary phenomenon within its real life context. Means within its real life, what exactly happening in the contemporary days, that it is investigating. When the boundaries between the phenomenon and the context are not clearly evident, in which the multiple sources of evidence are used. See, when we are not understanding about his limitation of the person on which we are making the study and the aspect on which we are making the study. So there, in that case, we to know the more evidences and all, multiple sources may be used. Because if we want to, what are the multiple sources we can use to know something about a particular cases? Either we may interact with him, we may interact with his family members, friends, we may look into his personal diary, if any something personal writings and all. Even we can contact his friends and all to get a multiple, using the multiple sources we can acquire lots of evidences. Are you clear now? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you see, then other aspect is telling, here a question comes, the Levister, he was a prominent social anthropologist, he was telling that. Can the researchers claim that the data from case studies provide the basis for a wider generalization? So you see, the very interesting thing Levistrauss was asking. He was asking that the data we collect by using the case study method, can we generalize it? Because generally in qualitative research, we face lots of difficulties that in the context of generalization. Because generally what happens? Most of our studies are very specific to a particular location. And we are a bit confused that getting some information on a particular community, on a particular location, can we generalize this? That Levister was asking. While you are taking the case study, you are mostly dealing with an individual. And that too an individual living in a particular location, particular area, or you are making a case study on a particular institution, you are making a case study on a particular company, maybe because one unit or a group or a community you are doing a case study. So huge apprehension that whether the data we collected or the writing we write and on the basis of case studies, can we generalize this? Or discussion about Goldstein's dilemma of studying 100 cases superficially or a few cases thoroughly. So what he was telling? You are telling that there are some people like Goldstein's who studied hundreds of cases but he has gone through the very thoroughly. He gone through with very few cases. So there, the question arises: are we really? Can we really generalize the things which we studied from this? So here you see, the answer to this question depends upon the researcher's choice of data on or his or her ability as an impartial observer and accurate recorder of the observation. You see, actually, if you look at the can we really generalize the data which we collected using the case study methods? It is completely depends upon the researcher's choice of data, what kind of data he is collecting, what are the sources of data he is collecting, and also depends upon his or her ability as impartial observer and accurate record of observation. You see, suppose I want to make a study on a particular society. How much I am able to collect the information, because I was telling the last few classes back regarding suppose income and expenditure. People will not tell. Even yesterday I also having the similar problem. My students are asking me, sir, the farmers are not telling about their expenditure details. They are not telling about their income details. I told you, cross check them, because if they will tell that, okay, I have almost 3. I told you, don't ask in a monetary form. You ask them how many acres of land you have. Then suppose they told 3 acres of land. Fine. You can ask them how many pockets of paddy you harvested last year. Then you will tell all the packets of paddy, and you know one packet is this much kg. Then I told what generally you might be consuming some paddy and selling some paddy. The obvious answer will be yes. Then immediately you ask us, are you getting the adequate price of selling your paddy? If will tell yes or no, then you can ask that what was exactly the price you got last time whenever you sold, and where you are generally preparing to sell. And if you are preparing X to sell, then how much price you are getting per quintal. So the moment I understood that he earned around 50 quintal, and each quintal suppose he is selling in 2000 rupees, then mine is 50 quintal into 2000. So that means you see, around means he didn't tell me what is his income, but from here I come to know that from his paddy is earning around 1 lakh rupees per annum. But if I ask him what is your income, then the moment I tell about the expenditure, because he will tell that, sir, there are too much cost, labor cost is so high, there is fertilizers I have to buy, there are too cost, and market price is rising every day. Sir, no profit. He will tell, I spent 2 lakh rupees or 1.5 lakh I have spent. But ultimately, whenever you will calculate, you will find that his income is 1 lakh. So definitely he is telling the lie. So that means his income is never crossed his expenditure. And the second thing is also, and if you ask somebody's income, he will never tell directly the income, rather you can calculate all this and get the income. Then like that you can ask, what are you getting the any non-agricultural labor or any farm labor or agricultural labor activities in your locality? Then he will tell. So he can tell you the approximately how many days he gets in every month, and usually is it available throughout the year, or there are some specific season on which you get the more labor, and from that you can calculate on an average these are the days. Means in a year, suppose he get 100 days employment opportunity, and you can ask him what is the wage rate, and from that you can multiply and calculate that this much is his income from this, and total you make the total and get the total income. So what I am telling regarding that expenditure also, what you collect, because if you tell your expenditure, nobody will tell you. You have to be very careful about their expenditure. How many children you have? Are you sending them to the schools? Are you sending them for the tuition? If the tuition teachers is coming, or you are sending how much price the tuition teacher is taking. So from there, and how much school fee you are giving, because now school fee is completely free if it is Odia medium school, or if it is English medium school, you have to pay, and how much generally the school starts. In the last 1 year, is anybody suffer from any kind of diseases? If diseases, how where you took? Are you having the ability to take him to the hospital? Usually, whenever somebody suffers from any disease, generally how much you spend for the medicine and all? Yeah. So from the medicine, food, so you can ask the people how much you are spending usually in the food, because the market rate is increasing. So you might be producing the crops and vegetables, the other grocery and all, where you are buying. Are you buying from the local small vendors, or which is in your village, or you are going to buy it to the market? Are you taking in the credit, or you are paying the money in the cash? Mostly the rural people's, those who are rich, forget about them. The other people, they usually take on the credit. So how much usually you repay the, whenever you are, whether you repay their credits in every month, or in every quarter, or every 6 months and all, you will tell no every month. So what generally the last month expenditure in your fooding and all, for buying groceries, some vegetables, whatever is required. So from that slowly you will get all the information about his expenditure. And see, there are arguments in favor of case study being representative in the nature, because some people also argue that the case studies are also very much representative in the nature, because they represent the things also. Case study is really on direct observation and systematic interview, because here in the case study, what is happening? We are directly observing somebody, and also we are systematically interviewing, taking the interview from some person. They don't allow the experimental manipulations and controls. So what generally happens in the case study methods? Generally, they never allow any kind of experimental manipulation and controls. Means while you are interacting, while you are taking the interview from somebody and writing in a case, means you are developed through case study method. There, the manipulation and control of the outsider, when the interviewer, those person who are taking the interview, they usually never having any kind of control, and they never influence also. Case studies can be positive, interpretive, list, and a critical. So means he can be, case studies can be positivist, interpretivist, and critical. Means either you can take a positive case studies. Means suppose if I am looking at a person who is very successful in the agriculture, I am thinking the things from a positivist perspective and looking into that how he improved. Okay. Then I can do the interpretivist. I can collect the case. Then while I am also doing the case study and writing a case study, I can interpret and write. And sometimes so some cases I can write in a very critical perspective. They can also be explorative, descriptive, and explanatory in nature. Means whatever the research design we are using, either explorative research design, explanatory research design, and descriptive research design, what kind of research design I am following, based on that, I can use my case studies in a different angle, different perspective. So they usually answer the how and why of the questions. What generally the case study they generally answer? They answer how things happen and why things happen. Means if something happen, my intention in the case study that why this thing happen and how this thing happen. It is a useful techniques or a strategy for conducting qualitative research. Generally, the case study method is a very useful techniques or a strategy which is usually used for conducting the qualitative research. The object of study is specific, unique, and bounded system. If you understand this thing, you will understand the objective of the study is very specific, very unique, and bounded by the system. The system binds that what the way and or the procedure will follow, and also here will follow that it is very specific and a unique one. Then the next is the steps involved in the case study method. There are broadly 6 steps involved in the case study method. One is determine and define the research questions, focus on research. The first one is determine and define the research questions. So means while you will take the case study, based on your objective, you define certain kind of research question. What exactly you are going to ask? What is your focused area of research? Suppose if I am doing the research in agriculture, I should not ask him relating to health, because I should be very specific. I should determine and define my research question, and I should be very specific that what exactly I am asking him. Then select cases and determine data gathering and analysis techniques. Select certain cases. You have to select the cases and determine the data gathering and analysis techniques. So means unless and until I select the cases and determine the data gathering and analysis techniques, so then I cannot do the justice. I have to be very careful while selecting the cases and adopting the data gathering and analysis techniques. Prepare to collect the data. Once you have to be very prepared how to collect the data and all. Collect the data in the field. You have to go and getting my point. The first step is I should be very much careful and I should define. I should very well design based on my well design all these research questions. What exactly I am going to ask, which is focused on my research. The second is select cases and determine data gathering and analytical techniques. You see, the second is if I'm going to take the case study, so it means I have to first select, in the second phase I have to select my cases, because once my objective is clear, my questions are clear, what exactly I am going to do. The second is the cases on whom I have to take my case study, because suppose if I am doing a case study on agriculture, I was looking for successful farmers. I cannot go and find out somebody who is a successful teachers. If somebody will come and ask me, and I want to take a case study on you, and you are on a how you becomes a good farmer and all, so that means his mechanism is wrong. So means you have to select the cases. Otherwise, if somebody also in the village, he can do case study. He can find that there are 100 farmers. You see, suppose I interacted with around 45 farmers yesterday. And while I am interacting with 45 farmers, I may not take everybody as a case, because whom I found that these are the person who has very extensively has involved in the agriculture and have done better, even if they have a very small patch of lands, but they have done very well and all. So through that, what exactly I did and how they use the knowledge, how they use the technology, how they use the external interventions, how they migrated to the organic farming and all. So based on all these aspects, I thought that okay, these are the people can be determined, can be find out as a successful cases with whom I can have an extensive interaction. Then prepare to collect the data. So means third stage, I have to be very much prepared to collect the information, collect the data. Collect the data in the field, then again you go and collect the data from the field. Means I have to be first prepare how to collect the data. Then once my preparation, everything, questionnaire, checklist, everything is over, then I can go to the field, interact with the cases and collect the information. Then fifth is analysis the data. Once data is being collected, I have to analyze the data. Then sixth one is writing the report. I have to use the how to write the report and all. So see, so here what I'm telling, so I am doing a very extensive research involving different techniques and collecting the data and all. Then you see the next, what exactly we are to do, that the research question, because first I told the research question is highly different. Foremost is to ask how and why, how it happens and why it happens. When I am developing certain research question, how and why it happens has to be very much in my question. Research proposition should reflect an important theoretical issue and candidate as to where to look for relevant evidence of the data. See, what are the units of analysis? How many cases I am going to take? Logical linkages of data to the proposition. If I have defined a research proposition and while I am developing the question, I should think that my question should extract certain kind of data and information which will have a logical linkage. If My proposition is something different, my data is something different, I miss the logical linkage is missing within the data and proposition, then I am not doing the justice. Evolve the criteria to interpret the findings. So I have to definitely evolve certain criteria to interpret the findings. What exactly the findings we have, and what are the criteria we evolve to interpret the findings. Right? So then selecting the cases. It depends on the nature of the problem of the research. Selecting the cases. The cases has to be done. My second was the selection of cases. And how to select the cases? It depends on the nature of the problem of research. Because see, I told you from the beginning that if I want to make a cases on agriculture, I cannot go to a teacher or I cannot go to a doctor. So once I should to select the cases who are the farmers. Cases selected can be typical and atypical. So means the cases maybe I can take the cases which are doing very good activities and very good and also somebody which is not that much success in the activities. If I am taking any agriculture in this, so I can do a very extensive case study on the persons having the similar kind of land holdings, the similar size of land holding, I can take two group of people and find that two individuals, one individual how it is success and another individual how it failed. Case studies can be categorized into intrinsic, instrumental, and collective. See, intrinsic. So means how they are giving the kind of more and more information. Then they are more instrumentals and collectives. See, means how they are becoming an instrumental for the others, how they are being motivated the others, and also sometimes we can look the things that how somebody is, as a case, is doing well in a collective form. Cases that are intrinsic are of interest due to the special nature of these cases, not because it is representative of other cases or because it illustrates a more general trend or problem. You will find that intrinsic. So you will find that sometimes in the field some cases are very unique because somebody might be having some kind of innovative ideas. You see, every farmers are. So look at it. Suppose I can take the success of a person in the class. I can make a case study on that, and I can find that interesting. Some suppose I can find that some cases within the class that it is not that all the students are using the class notes of the teachers and whatever they remember they write, but there are certain kind of students who are very unique in the nature. They are very brilliant. What they do, they understand the basic. Then they go to the library, collect lots of books. Then they develop their own notes, and they very clearly and precisely they write in the exams. So that means they are very intrinsic and they are very unique. They are and they have a specific interest in a particular cases, and then you can make a very study into on them and collect the information in a very different way. So then the significant aspect of instrumental case studies is that it enables the understanding of something other than the case itself. So when you see, while in the instrumental aspects, you'll see that while we are studying on a particular cases, it will enable you to understand of something other than the case itself. Means how while you will interact with that cases, while you have an in-depth discussion of that cases, you will not get some information only about that cases. Rather, that cases will lead you and will apprise you the lots of information which is not relating to that also, which is relating to somebody else. The collective case study is considered as an extension of instrumental case study, but applied to several cases. See, here in collective cases, what is happening? We are taking the case studies from different cases. So means those who are linked to each other. This facilitated the comparison and simultaneous analysis of individual cases. If you take lots of these collective cases now, this will help in a comparison study. If I take lots of cases, I can make a comparison why X is success and why Y is failed, or I can make in between X and Z that both are very good farmers, and what are the I can make a comparison and find out that what are the differences, what are the similarity, and why x is more than z. It helps to test a theory. I can take a theory and which I can test by using the case study method in the field. Also, it helps in a better understanding of a particular phenomena. If I want to understand a particular phenomena in a proper way, so this case study method helps us to understand the cases in a better way. Then preparation of the data collection. So the researcher should be able to ask the good questions and to be a good listener. Here, the researcher, while you are collecting the data, the researcher should be able to ask good question and to be a good listener. Here, what exactly happens? While you are going to the while you are preparing to collect the data and want to go to the field, your motive should be there. It is not that you will only keep on asking the question and you will always interfere in the when the person is answering. Rather, you always to be ask the good question, then remain silent and try to be a good listener. You just listen. He or she should be adaptive and flexible. So you should be very much adaptive to the situation and very flexible to the individual, the cases you are taking. Should have the firm understanding of the issues being studied. You should be very much understanding of the issues to be studied, because if you are not clear about the issues on which you are studying, you will not give a justice to your research. He or she should be able to make intelligent decision about the data being collected. So means while you have collected the data, what uh, you will do with the data, how you will do the analysis now. The researchers should have knowledge about as to why the study is being done. Means if you are taking a study, if you are doing a study, you should be also very much clear that what for you are making study and how that study will help you, because honestly until you are having all this knowledge, you will not able to give the justice to your research. Tell me, anybody any doubt till now? Hmm?
No, sir.
No, sir. Complete clear? Hmm? So I'll stop here. I have some other urgent work also. So we'll continue in the next class. Huh?